have no knowledge about it. Yet the government of Uganda felt it befitting that we have this tribunal. Now, this is the Electricity Disputes Tribunal. Well, it's been in operation since 2006, and we want to know, what do they do? How do you get in touch with them? And what have they been able to achieve since time of operationalization? Now, joining me on set to discuss this, I have Charles Okoth Owor, who happens to be the chairperson of the tribunal. At my extreme end, you're most welcome.
Thank you very much.
And just next to me, I did not use ladies first, but is Sylvia Torres, who happens to be the Registrar Electricity Disputes Tribunal. You're most welcome, Sylvia.
Thank you very much. Good morning, viewers.
And I'll start with the chairman. To the person hearing of this for the first time, or who could be having some slight information, when you talk about the Electricity Disputes Tribunal, how did you come into play? Was it by an act of parliament? And what is, or what are your core mandates?
Thank you very much, Robert. The Electricity Disputes Tribunal, which I'll be referring to as either the tribunal or the EDT, is a specialized court. It's a specialized court, just like the Tax Appeals Tribunal or the Industrial Court. These are dispute resolution frameworks set up to handle disputes in particular specific sectors. So the Electricity Disputes Tribunal handles disputes that arise in the electricity sector. The electricity sector being quite wide, generation of electricity, transmission of electricity, distribution of electricity, and the whole wide spectrum, including licensing, regulation, tariff setting, even fellows who come to wire our houses, all those may have one dispute or another, and if they feel that it ought to be resolved by this formal framework put in place, then that Electricity Tribunal is a place to come to. The tribunal is established under provisions of the law, the Electricity Act of 1999. That's where you find a provision that establishes the Electricity Disputes Tribunal. That same law states its mandate. And this mandate is to resolve or to hear all disputes in the electricity sector, except those where the two parties or more than two parties have agreed on their own framework of resolving their disputes. You find that in some agreements, they say any dispute shall be determined between the two or three parties involved by arbitration or by such and such means. In that instance, we do not entertain such. Two, the law is very specific that criminal aspects in the electricity sector are not handled by the Electricity Disputes Tribunal. Those go to the ordinary criminal courts. Vandalization or interference with electricity in a manner that's deemed to be criminal, yes, those go to the ordinary courts. We deal with the other aspects, the civil, commercial, yes.
Now, Sylvia, when you talk about other aspects, just throw more light on which other aspects. Because when you talk about a place where people can go and resolve issues, many can come along. Yes. So just give us the nature of what you handle in particular. Yes.
Thank you very much, Robert. And as explained by our chairperson, we handle basically civil suits civil matters that are related to electricity. And when they say other aspects, we mean the generation matters, disputes that may arise out of generation, distribution, contracts that are related to electricity or electricity distribution in a way. Then we also have way leave. As you connect electricity in different villages or different places in this country, you need way. And you're most likely to pass someone's house, someone's garden. So if a dispute arose out of that, then the place to go to is the Electricity Disputes Tribunal. Yes, that's what we do, basically.
That's what I wanted more of that. Now, the chairperson talked about if people choose an alternative of arbitration.
Yes.
For example, if a case is in court,
Yes.
there, or if a case is with the Electricity Tribunal, and then maybe some party says we have to go through the other system, do you cease to have interest? Do you cease to have jurisdiction over that case?
Where we have jurisdiction as the EDT, the jurisdiction remains, though in most cases we prefer to settle ADR, alternative dispute resolution, yes, which includes negotiations, mediations, and in most cases as a tribunal, we encourage parties to first even go for mediation before we continue with the matter. If the mediation fails, that's when we continue with the matter. So we don't cease to have jurisdiction over the matter just because they are going for ADR. In most cases, the tribunal just gives them time, ample time, to go and sit and probably even appoint a mediator for them where they request to go and sit and try to settle. So if they settle partly, the case partly, then the tribunal may only handle the issues that were not resolved at that alternative dispute resolution settlement. So that is what we do. Yeah. Yes.
Now, that having been said, what has been the public's response towards this tribunal, chairperson?
Possibly, let me start by giving a little context in which the tribunal came to exist. You remember way back, there's been a lot of liberalization in the economy. Likewise was with the electricity sector. The electricity sector was liberalized, so that we ceased to have a monopoly that used to exist, where UUB, Uganda Electricity Board, then was the sole generator of electricity power, transmitter, and the distributor. With the liberalization came in players and competition. You now have ESCOM generating. You have other independent power producers, Bujagali, and a few others around the country, generating power. You have, yes, the major one is Umeme, under concession from Uganda Electricity Distribution Company, but there are also other distributors. But we have one transmission monopoly by Uganda Electricity Transmission Company. So UEB was unbundled into 3 companies, and then they allowed other players to come in the sector. As soon as you have more than one player, there are likely to be disputes and reservations over certain things. The law then also created a regulator, the Electricity Regulatory Authority, which guides and governs the way the sector operates. So you find they are the ones who issue licenses to generation companies, or if you want to generate electricity, it's to them that you apply, and they give you a license, and they tell you what to do, what not to do, how much electricity you are going to generate. So those are the little things and the conditions. So sometimes you find that a generator or a potential generator is not happy with the conditions given to them. So if they fail to agree with the Electricity Regulatory Authority, then they may decide to come to the tribunal to resolve that dispute. So the conditions under which they operate, those may come to us. Indeed, even the matter of tariff we've had a situation, a case where Umeme wanted a particular tariff. Electricity Regulatory Authority said, no, it can't be like that. And they failed to agree. They came to us, each side putting its case so that we can decide who is possibly right or which is the position that should obtain. You have in transmission. Transmission is a monopoly of the government company, Uganda Electricity Transmission Company, and they transmit power all over the place, from which Umeme or UDCL also obtains power and others. But when they are stringing wires or taking electricity to different places, they normally pass through people's property. They pass through people's property, and the Constitution, the Ugandan Constitution, gives certain rights and protections to property owners. So you ought to get consent before you ought to agreed on compensation, which should be done promptly. In one instance or another, that may not happen, and you find, the property owner feels aggrieved. So he comes to the tribunal. This company has passed, poles, planted poles in my land, passed, wires over my land. They've committed trespass. I've also suffered, as a result of that, because I was going to build here. I was doing this here, which I can't do anymore. I need compensation, or I need them to be ordered out of my land. So those issues come to our place. Of course, as she said, along with those routes, you create where leaves space, some amount of land that's left for between where the line is passing and where you can do some activities. So those are type of examples of.
So what should one expect from this tribunal? For example, the way leaves. She talked about dialogue, finding ways, but to what extent are your powers? The tribunal is being clothed with the same powers as the High Court in as far as resolving disputes in the electricity sector is concerned. We have the same jurisdiction. Indeed, the chairperson of the tribunal and the vice chairperson of the tribunal must qualify to be appointed High Court judges. Qualify to be, not that they are High Court judges. No, they are not High Court judges, but they must qualify to be appointed High Court judges. And they exercise that same jurisdiction. What's interesting is that as the law stands as of today, both the High Court and the tribunal have got concurrent jurisdiction. You can choose to go to the High Court over the same matter or to come to the tribunal. But the tribunal was set up to make it easier and more expeditious to resolve disputes in this sector because of the major importance of the electricity sector to the economy. Let activities in the sector not be bogged down by a dispute. Create this forum which deals particularly with only that sector so that they can expeditiously handle any dispute in that sector to enable the sector operate efficiently and with as little hindrances as possible. So that's same thing with the tax appeals tribunal, so that matters of taxation are not hindered by because ordinary courts arguably we must accept they take longer to resolve disputes other than when you compare it to these particular tribunals. Thank you. Now, Slivia, having heard that from the chairperson, now, what have been some outstanding successes or success of the tribunal since its time of inception till now, that our viewer there can maybe look at that and bench and say, yes, this is the reason why I should take my affairs, leaving alone these big companies that the chairperson has talked about. They may be in the know, but the viewer that we have today?
Thank you very much. The tribunal has given a lot of confidence, first of all, to people dealing in electricity. Since the electricity sector was opened up to different actors, initially it used to be only Uganda. Yes, Uganda Electricity Board. But when it was opened up, different actors came into play, and so we have different people investing, even international investors. So all these have a lot of confidence that in case of any dispute, they have a body to run to, and which will handle their disputes very expeditiously, and then less costly, and with a lot of experience in the same issues that keep coming up. Basically that, we've had a lot of international matters coming up, different issues that are really urgent. We have, for example, this factory that has issues with umeme. Probably they've been cut because of different terms that they've not agreed on. So when they run to the Electricity Disputes Tribunal, we give them attention and handle their matters expeditiously in order to restore the work that they are doing. So in order to settle that dispute and probably ensure that the work they are doing continues, not to like, for example, disorganize the economy, you understand. So that is what Electricity Disputes Tribunal is doing. Yes, thank you.
Chairperson, how expeditiously can a matter be handled by the tribunal? Because this is, in my opinion, this is the core role why it was set up. That as we talked about the High Court and courts taking time, but how then can one expect quickest on average time where you can give for a matter? Or does even the law the
law does not stipulate the time within which any particular matter is handled. But what I can assure the viewing public is that we try to handle these dispute resolutions in as efficient and as expeditious manner as possible. Some have ended on the day they've appeared before us. You talk to the parties, what is your problem? He or she says, this is my problem. And you, what's your point of view? This and that. So where is the difference? This and that. So can you try to solve it between the two, because it seems to be very small? They said, oh, give us some few days. So we'll give you some hours. Can you come back at 3 o'clock? And they come back with having those. Others take months or even years, depending on the nature of the dispute. Some disputes are very, very complicated and they take longer. But as to the benefit or how far it has helped, one, she has informed us that it builds investor confidence. When an investor wants to put in money somewhere, he wants to be sure that should there be a dispute, there is an independent mechanism that can objectively look at this matter and make a decision, whether in my favor or not in my favor, but there is a mechanism. Because without such a mechanism, one wonders if I invest, what happens if something goes wrong, and I'm not happy about that. Two, that one also resolves disputes, which, as I said earlier on, enhances efficiency of operations. We basically sit in Kampala at Amber House, that's where the court is. But the law allows the chairperson to determine where to sit and what procedures to use. We have cases where we have peasants, possibly 100, possibly 150, 200, who feel aggrieved by the actions of one of the players. They've passed lines and planted poles over a long distance, and they feel their property has been destroyed and there's been no compensation. So those come, you may find there are 100 people from a particular area. Let's say we had a case like that in Namutumba, over 70 people. Now, when you think about 70 people coming to Kampala, and some of their claims, 2 million, 3 million, 4 million, 1 million, somebody to come to Kampala, spend a night in Kampala, go back, then next day, it can be very expensive. So the chairman then decides that no, the tribunal will move to Namtumba and sit there. So we'll liaise with the district administration through the office of the registrar. They arrange for us courtroom facilities, security, and then the parties come that way to Namtumba. Those peasants come in their numbers. The representative of the company, basically lawyers representing that the affected party on the other side, come and we listen to the case from there. We've had that in Hoima, we've had that in Namutumba, we've had that in Namayingo, we've had that in Mitoma, we've had that in Kasese, and ranging from different aspects. In Kasese, it's to do with generation of power. In other places, it's transmission or distribution, lines. Yeah, that's right. We even have had cases of what do you call them? These fellows who license, who wire our houses. Somebody says Electricity Regulatory Authority has refused to give me a license, and I don't think they have any justifiable ground for that. So he brings them, he drags them there, and we listen to both sides and make a decision. Thank you.
Well, very interesting that there is a tribunal where we can have electricity disputes now handled. If you didn't know, well, that is the reason you should keep it on UBC TV, because we now bring it to you that you don't have to feel like there is no safe haven for you, yet you can have some issues handled effectively by the Uganda Electricity Disputes Tribunal. Allow me to go for a short break. When I return, I still have my guests, and we'll still be looking at what so far has been done, and also enabling how best you can get in touch with these officials. You could have issues, maybe the companies, and most common I've seen is electricity paths. Many people, you find them there, think they should be compensated. Others have misinformation that, well, these have the right to do that because it's a government program. We'll return shortly.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda Extra.
In this family, we can't agree on anything. We can't even agree on what to watch. All the games to play. Ndowoza Mulabi, we can't even agree on what to eat. At least the one thing for now we can all agree on is the soap to use. He likes that it's big and lasts long. Anti-economy. I like that it keeps my skin smooth. Ate alina echovu. And the children like that. It smells amazing. Everyone is happy. Movit soap comes in 4 fantastic flavors. Movit family soap is truly soap for the whole family.
Movit. All day confidence.
African Airline Association, in conjunction with Uganda Airlines, presents the 55th AFRA Annual General Assembly between the 19th and 21st November 2023 at Speak Resort Hotel, Munyonyo, in the heart of Uganda, the Pearl of Africa. In attendance will be 500 high-profile African and global aviation leaders, 40 airline CEOs making strides to transform aviation for development. The 55th AFRA AGA is proudly powered by
UBC Studios in Kampala. This is Good Morning Uganda Extra.
Welcome back from that break. Thank you for being with us on UBC TV. I'm very sure you are learning more, and of course, now knowing that all hope is not lost. There is the Electricity Disputes Tribunal that is there to handle such issues relating to electricity. Now, we want to know how much has this tribunal done since its inception as far as stabilizing the consumption of electricity in this country. And just in case you've not been with us right from the start of this program, I have Charles Okoth Owore, who happens to be the chairperson of the tribunal, and Slivia Torres, who is the registrar of this tribunal. Now, we are trying to find out and better understand how this can be of help. Now, one thing, Slivia, I want to look at also is, now I'm an ordinary person, or we're a company in this. What is the process of filing a complaint? Where do I start from?
Thank you very much. We do have the procedure rules that have been prepared by the Electricity Disputes Tribunal, and they are legal. They give us a format of how to lodge a dispute in our registry. Usually, briefly, you just prepare a complaint. A complaint must indicate the parties you're suing, you yourself, and then your addresses. Then you go to the facts. You must give us the facts that really put out the dispute. What is it you're complaining about? And what remedies are you seeking? So when you lodge that in our registry, you then get a copy and serve the party that you are suing. So when you serve
who serves?
Usually the tribunal prepares the summons and the party is served by either the advocate or the person who is suing, or the complainant, or even our own registry staff can serve. So when you serve the other party, they are given a number of days within which to respond and file their defense if they have any. Yeah, it's usually 21 days. You file it with our registry, and then from there now the matter is set down for hearing. The tribunal fixes a date, and then you're notified of that hearing date, and you come forth to the tribunal. Usually when you come to the tribunal, you are still given an opportunity to explore alternative dispute resolution, because it creates a win-win situation. It's cheaper, it's faster. Yeah, so that's what we do as a tribunal. Thank you.
Now, Chairperson, I want to know, who are the common or regular parties that the tribunal or that appear before the tribunal?
Thank you very much, Robert. Permit me, before I come to that, to possibly talk about the constitution of the tribunal, so that it reflects and should give people confidence to come in. The tribunal is constituted of 7 members. There's a chairperson and vice chairperson who are, as we said, must qualify to be lawyers. Then we have an engineer versed in electricity matters. As of now, we have 2 engineers. We have Dr. Engineer Terry Kahuma as a member. We have Engineer Paul Mobiru. He's a mechanical engineer, but there are some aspects of disputes that relate to that. Then we have an environmentalist, because sometimes these things touch upon it. But then we have a social scientist, the impact on people. And 1 or 2 other persons. Now, for its quorum is 3 people, 3 members, chaired by the chairperson. Then he chooses 2 others, depending on the nature of the case that's coming, to listen to the case. And decision is made by majority or consensus. More often than not, it's been by consensus, because your draft judgment is prepared and then discussed among the members of the panel, the 3, and an agreement is reached that this is the decision. We've so far not had any disagreement really as to the final decision. As to the parties, you or I, if I were not a member of the tribunal, can come. You've had people, individuals like you or others, whose power has been affected, let's say disconnected. And the other party, sector player, is saying, you tampered with our mechanism for supplying you power, so that you are consuming power without it being metered. And the person says, no, I've never been touched. I don't even know how this thing looks like. And this person said, no, we have charged you, levied upon you so much money, and which you must pay before we can reconnect you. So they may disagree to the point that they come to the tribunal to resolve that. Factories, companies do that. Many companies come and say, we've been disconnected, we've lost money, we can't produce, we've failed in contracts, we are being sued for breach of contracts because power. And the other side has got some reason is putting forward why we have disconnected you. And this person said, those can't be truths. It's not lawful. You are not justified because this is not happening. So a number of those. So the major sector players like UMEME are our very regular parties. Uganda Electricity Transmission Company, our regular. The Electricity Regulatory Authority, the regulator themselves, also find themselves in disputes with either UMEME, transmission, the generating companies and other stakeholders like license holders for wiremen and things like that. Yes. Even the government now, government through the office of the Attorney General is also one of the most common parties that appear before the tribunal. Government has been running some programs like the Rural Electrification Program, which is a government program under the Ministry of Energy. In their activities of extending power to rural areas, some people feel their actions aggrieve them. Their property is destroyed or their consent was never obtained, so they come for trespass, they come for damages to compensate them for them. And then those have to be represented by the government lawyers. That's the Attorney General's office. So the Attorney General is a very, very major party before us. And as I said, many private companies, schools, their powers have been cut off for non-payment or for reason, and the schools are saying, no, we couldn't have consumed that amount of power. So yeah. So virtually anybody who uses electricity or might be affected by electricity or is involved in the production, transmission, distribution, or consumption of electricity. Yeah.
Now, how do I access these services from knowing the filing process? Because it's more or less affairs of a high court. Now, many would say, must I have an advocate? Must I have or I can come as I am, if I may say.
Okay. One, we are located on Amber House on Kampala Road. That's where we have our court and our registry. However, as I said, we can also go up country. And we have plans in future to establish branches in various regions so that people can access our services easier than what's the case now. Because you can imagine somebody unhappy in Kabale coming all the way to Kampala. It can be quite very expensive. But as the registrar said, there's a format, but if you are not able to follow that format, you can write your complaint, bring it to the registry, and they will help you sort it out in a manner that's intelligible to the tribunal and the other side.
Okay.
So an individual can come, you need not come with a lawyer, but it's advisable where possible to get legal counsel, because to have lawyers representing you, though you need not have lawyers, we try to listen. Because the law is very specific that this court, this tribunal, is not bound by technicalities of procedure. In the ordinary courts, there are certain things must be done in a particular manner. If you don't do that, then it does not count. In the tribunal, you may not do that. We try very much. We have procedure rules, as she has said. But the law enjoins us to administer natural justice. Go to the merit of the case. Don't look so much at how somebody is going about to, bring out his point. Has he filed the proper document? No, there's a document here. Does it bring out the point? Yes, in here.
Small label.
Yes. It says natural justice. Natural justice. Yeah, natural justice, tries to, give everybody a chance, so that the matter is listened to on merit.
Well, Sylvia, as we walk out of here to leave room for more programming, what is your final remark to our viewers or the public?
Thank you very much. My remark to the general public is that do not suffer with disputes that will hamper your development or disorganize your growth. Try to settle them amidst yourselves, and if you fail, you can always come to the tribunal and you are helped. What we do as a tribunal is to ensure that electricity continues as it is. The development or growth in the electricity sector or in any dispute in regard to electricity is handled expeditiously, and we are very flexible just to ensure that Ugandans get justice in the electricity sector. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much. Sylvia, Chairperson, your parting shot.
Get access to electricity by way of consumption or transmission or distribution, with as least hindrance as possible by resolving any disputes that may hinder production or transmission or distribution or even consumption. We thank UBC very much for this opportunity.
Well, I want to thank you so much, my guests this morning, and of course our viewer. Thank you so much for being with us. Those that have been with us from 6:30 till now, and of course that are going to continue being with us throughout the day, we really appreciate. Now, do not be stranded, either a company or an individual. There is the Electricity Disputes Tribunal. They are waiting to address and ensure that anything to do with electricity, we have smooth and frequent and regular consumption. One thing that is very important there is they aim at expediting handling these conflicts rather than sitting there and also looking at other alternatives. Why not give them a try? And then you'll live to tell a story of good results. See you tomorrow, God willing. Have a lovely day for God and my country.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda Extra. This weekend on UBC.
We have a challenge that many women get to a point that they are using social media. They are married,